Two of the greatest monetary economists were Irving Fisher and Milton Friedman. Friedman, whose statistical work was based on the time period from the early 1950s until the early 1980s, believed money velocity was stable, although not constant. During that span he was correct, however, due to archival research that resulted over a much longer time period of data. Friedman's view is not correct. Fisher, working with less data than Friedman and far fewer resources than are available today, did not share Friedman's critical assumption. Fisher originally believed that velocity was stable, however, as more evidence became available he wrote, in a 1933 article in Econometrica, that velocity declines in highly indebted economies. The research presented in this article is consistent with Fisher's view that debt is an increase in current spending in exchange for a decline in future spending unless the debt generates an income stream to repay principal and interest. Thus, Fisher is correct. Friedman's famous phrase that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon would only hold if the central bank's liabilities were legal tender. But, for that to happen the Federal Reserve Act would need to be rewritten, and that is very unlikely. One of the things that people have said over and over again is that the debt levels in the United States should send the dollar lower. And the dollar going substantially lower could change the inflationary picture. But what does the dollar do? The dollar holds in there. And in fact, this year we've had these inflationary problems and other issues. The dollar has actually appreciated. One of the reasons the dollar holds its value is because the United States economy is not as heavily indebted as the rest of the world. And one confirmation of that is to look at what's happening to the velocity of money in the United States versus Europe, Japan, and China. Money velocity in China in 2020 was 0.44 versus 1.19 in the United States. The velocity of money is heavily influenced by the marginal revenue product of the debt. Ours are unprecedentedly low, where in terms of total debt we're generating only about 25 cents of GDP per dollar of debt in the United States. But it's even lower at 20 cents in Europe and 15 cents in Japan and China. And so the United States continues to outperform on a long-term basis. And as long as that's the case, the United States dollar will continue to remain firm.